Eve.
Joining us now, Representative Scott Bounds. He represents District 44 in the Mississippi State House, serves as chairman of the House Public Utilities Committee. Welcome, Representative Bounds. Thanks for coming in.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Glad to be here, Gerard. Thank you for having me.
You bet. So we've got the infamous, it's actually famous, honestly, the Neshoba County Fair coming up, and it's always special when it's election year.
It's always special when an election year. Let me just get a few housekeeping things out of the way first on the fair. 5 weeks from tomorrow it kicks off. This year it runs July the 21st through the 28th.
Okay.
Of course, this is an election year, and that's probably one of the, along with Cento and maybe some other places, one of the most revered political stumps in the state.
No doubt.
And but we've got 3 days scheduled for political speaking, which would be on Tuesday, July the 25th, which will be local candidates only, candidates that are running for office there in Neshoba County.
Okay.
And then on Wednesday, the 26th, Thursday, the 27th, we will have a mix of statewide and district candidates speaking on those days. Now, we'll say, it's funny you go back and look, and we go back, Gerard, and look. We're in the middle of there are no open seats this year, okay, in the statewide cycle, okay? And,
right.
No open seats. So you don't have the plethora of candidates running.
Huge fields you typically have in an open seat.
In an open seat. So this year with the invites that we have sent out and the responses that we've got, we'll be able to get our speaking in on Wednesday mornings before lunch.
Okay.
Starting early and then on Thursday morning before lunch. But in years when you've got open seats, you're going to run into the afternoons every year. It's just no way you can get around it. You have so many people running.
Yeah, I hadn't thought about that. But this year, all the statewide offices have an incumbent who's running for re-election.
Right.
So it's them versus those few people, honestly, that are challenging.
That have qualified to run. Yeah. That's right. So we're going to be able to get our speaking program in on Wednesday morning, the 26th, and Thursday morning, the 27th.
Okay.
And, of course, that gives everybody the opportunity to go to the horse races that afternoon or whatever they want to do at the Neshoba County Fair.
And, of course, enjoy the wonderful food at many of the cabins, and the folks who occupy those and all those are always very gracious, very hospitable. Yeah,
we've got, as far as political speaking, all the incumbents have committed to attending or speaking. And just throw a little tidbit out. We don't have the exact times down yet, but sometime between 9 and 11 o'clock on both days, 8:30 to 11 o'clock. I know that Lieutenant Governor Delbert Hoseman will be speaking on Wednesday. Governor Reeves will be speaking on Thursday. Okay. House Speaker Philip Gunn will be doing his last appearance as House Speaker on Thursday at the fair. So. It's going to be we've got the lineup we've got a good mix of it.
How much time are they allotted to speak, Scott?
10 minutes.
10 minutes, okay.
10 minutes. And I will tell you, I have spoken there as a candidate and an elected official for 20 years, and that is probably the hardest speech to do in the world. Not because it's my home people, but because it's hard to get in 10 minutes on what you want to say.
Yeah,
and you know how we are. We want to talk.
Yeah,
we want to talk. And but it's a very hard speech to do. But we could tie up 8 hours a day speaking.
Oh, there's no doubt.
If we wanted to.
No doubt.
And I don't know if that's what the people want, so we limit it to 10 minutes.
So it truly is considered the premier event for political junkies if you're interested in that sort of stuff. And there where they speak there in the middle, under the big tent.
Right.
What's that called?
Pavilion.
The Pavilion.
Founder Square.
Yeah, Founder Square. So tons of people.
Yeah.
Sitting and standing all around that area. Usually
absolutely.
we have a SuperTalk tent, as you know, set off just to the side.
Right.
And typically they come on the program right after they deliver their speeches. We catch them and talk to them and do kind of a rundown.
Right.
But this is going to be a big year.
It is, and like you said, if you're a political junkie, it's an almost you got to attend type
Not to mention all the other fun stuff you can do.
Well, all the other fun stuff you can do, too. This is the 134th year of the fair.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Started in 1889. We're the last remaining campground fair in America.
Wow.
589 individually owned cabins, and then we got 575 plus RV spots. So
really cool.
We I serve as president of the fair, and we have a board. We're an all volunteer board, but anyway, we have an outstanding team that does our office and business operations, our grounds maintenance, our utility infrastructure. It's a big operation. It's a really big operation.
Does the board decide who speaks? I know you've got some sort of guidelines around that, right?
We do. We have a policy in place. The board doesn't necessarily decide it. We have I'm going to call it a political speaking subcommittee under the program subcommittee, program committee, and they do. We take obviously every candidate or elected official that's running for statewide office. We invite them, and then we look at our district candidates, our public service commissioner, highway commissioners, our legislators. Our policy says that your district has to encompass all or part of Neshoba County to be extending an invitation to speak. And I will tell you, we do that, Gerard, because, I mean, we are barraged by candidates from outside the district or not running for statewide office that are wanting to speak. And while we would love to accommodate them, it just does not fit into the schedule, you know. And I know that on the grounds, at the fairgrounds, anytime there's people from all 82 counties, and you may want to hear from your tax assessor that's running in Jones County, but we just can't make all that work, in the hours that we have, in the time.
That makes sense. That makes sense.
So we have a policy, and we follow it, and we are consistent with it, and have been consistent with it for many years on who we invite and all of that.
And that makes total sense.
So, but yeah, it's going to be a big year. Here again starts 5 weeks from tomorrow.
Okay.
We're beginning to foster some local partnerships with different entities. I know that the Marty Stewart Congress of Country Music is they're being part of the sponsorship for our late night bands this year. We will have a band somewhere on the grounds everywhere but Sunday night on the grounds, and so we've got we're developing some unique partnerships with some not only local people but people across the state that see the value of the fair, see the value of getting their name out there, patrons of the fair, and so. It's it's not the fair that it was 40 years ago, and it's changing. We're really trying to take advantage of the opportunities that we have before us to make it even better. Always
enjoyable. You have any particular thoughts that you care to share about the upcoming elections?
Not really. I mean, when you look down through the statewide races, there's going to be some interesting races. I'm focused on House District 44 right now.
You told me you have an opponent.
I have an opponent in November, and I'm focused on that. But I think after we have the primaries, and obviously after the primaries in August, we'll have a lot clearer indication as to where we're going. You know, and but not really. Here again, I'm focused on my race and trying to come back and to the House and represent the people in House District 44, which encompasses a big part of Neshoba County and some of Leake County, and the voters have been very good to me there, and I hope I've earned the right to come back. I think we've been able to accomplish a lot of good things in the 20 years that I've been there, and then 12 years under leadership of Speaker Gunn, who's a good friend of mine, and I'm excited about things going into the future. I think we left some things on the table this year that the citizens of Mississippi want, and I think we'll move forward in trying to bring those things back up, some of these things, and act on them.
Well, we're about at a break, but do you want to talk about that after the break? You want to come back? Yeah,
sure.
Some of these, because it comes up a lot, certainly, in our discussions here on the show, and we get questions from the text line as well about some of the more high-profile issues and that folks would like to see get addressed, I think. That's kind of the primary sentiment we get from the from the people out there. That's who you guys represent. But we got Representative Scott Bounds in the Element Wealth Studios, and we're coming right back after the break here. Studios, our guest is Representative Scott Bounds. He represents District 44, and that includes Neshoba and parts of Leake County as well. Serves as the chairman of the House Public Utility Committees, and you're also the head man over there at the Neshoba County Fair, I guess, huh?
Man, I bring home all the big bucks, you know.
That takes a lot of work, doesn't it?
It takes a lot of work.
It's fun, though.
It's fun. It's good volunteer community stuff.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sure.
And I've been on the Neshoba County Fair board for 28 years. So was elected president That's 2 years ago. So just like herding cats, but I've got a good. It's a fun job, and it's one I enjoy.
And full disclosure, by the way, you know this, but our audience doesn't. I'm close friends with your brother. I've known your brother for a long time. He and I are of the same college fraternity.
Yeah.
We work together some in that regard. And so I've known and respect him. Mark, your brother.
Yeah, sure.
He's a good guy. You know, his dream is to be an ambassador some way.
I know.
Somewhere. He tells.
We've talked about that, and I think he'd be a great one.
He would be. He absolutely would be.
I think he'd be a great one. I don't know the process to get to that, but it's above what I can do.
Yeah, he needs somebody that's more connected and powerful than you and me.
Absolutely.
All right, so we were before we went to break. I asked you to stay to maybe talk about some of the first the accomplishments in the last session and the last term.
Sure.
Some things we could certainly point to, but there's some stuff that a lot of people would say, well, that's unfinished. And one of those is the citizen ballot initiative.
Yes.
That we had House versions of that bill. We couldn't get any traction 2 years in a row, 2 sessions in a row. Just couldn't get it through the Senate. Seems like the main objection in discussing this with the lieutenant governor, and I think there are senators that feel this way as well, is that the sticking point is the number of signatures required to certify a measure. The Senate wants a much higher number of signatures than the House. The House wants to keep the same formula in place.
Higher threshold.
Yeah.
The House's position has been to keep it somewhere around where it is, and the Senate position, for whatever reason, has been a higher threshold.
Yeah.
I will tell you, Gerard, that we do need a threshold on it.
Okay.
I think we need a threshold on it. I think we need to have a minimum threshold. Is it that 20,000 that's in a congressional district or not? I don't know. I would like for it to land myself, personally, somewhere between where the House position was and the Senate position was.
Maybe a compromise.
A compromise, you know. We don't want to have to turn around. And look, the citizens should, you know, they elect us to be their voice in government, okay? And whether it's in the state capitol, whether it's in Congress or whatever, they elect us. But you know, when they don't think we're doing our job, they should have an alternative to creating things. But you got to be sure it's not a slippery slope that you go down. That it's because if you ever get something ingrained in the Constitution, especially if it's a constitutional initiative, if you ever get something ingrained in the Constitution and it turns out that it's got severe problems, it's hard to change it.
Yeah,
it's really hard to change it. So, you know, on that, I supported the House position, but I would not be adverse to having a somewhat higher threshold, a compromise. But you know, just personally, I thought the Senate position was a little high.
Yeah,
but, and I think that's where we were never able to reach an agreement. I'd like to see us do that.
Okay.
I'd like to see us do that. But I want to talk about the income tax a minute.
Yeah.
So
I was going there next anyhow, so please.
So I want to talk about that a minute. So we, the legislature, we had an income tax elimination in 2022. And the House wanted to do a full elimination this year. We were not able to ever get that to the floor, okay? But I would like to see us have a full elimination of the income tax. Okay. I mean, when you can put money back in the citizens' pockets, and I'm talking about tangible money that they can spend and money that's going to turn over in the economy, it's a good thing. But when you look overall at the states that do not have an income tax and the successes they have in recruiting industry and recruiting people, we talk about brain drain and things like that. If people are not having to give their money to government, and I'm not opposed to taxation. I know that government has core functions, okay, and it takes tax dollars to work that. But on the other hand, also, if you can make an environment in your state, if we can make an environment in Mississippi that is favorable to people coming here or industries investing and creating jobs and people coming here and living and spending money and all, I think one of the most important things we do is to eliminate the income tax. I really do.
Okay. I
really do, and I'd like to see us do that. And will that be a part of a new administration in the House? I think I feel confident that at some point in the next 4 years it will probably be addressed. And we're going to have a new speaker. Speaker Gunn is not coming back.
Right.
Speaker Gunn championed and advocated for the tax elimination that we got in 2022, and he tried to get it this year. Just we couldn't get it.
Yeah.
Couldn't get it through. Couldn't even get it started in the House. And
right.
But anyway, I think it's a very important thing that we do, and because the states that do it, it's proven that it works. And look, I will tell you, the income tax elimination that we did in 2016, everybody gnashed their teeth and wailed and moaned, and we're not going to have this and not going to have that. Look at the growth that we've had since 2016, and that elimination is close to being fully phased in.
Yeah, phase in, phase out of the 3% bracket over 5 years.
That's right. So and look, we have been blessed the last 2 years as far as revenues in the state. I serve on the Joint Legislative Budget Committee, so we get to really see the figures that come in and work with the budget staff and things like that. And we've been blessed. Now, is that because of is price of goods are higher? Is that why we're receiving more tax money? Yeah, it could be. But if you look at the tax categories throughout our revenues, Mississippi's in a good spot right now.
I did review that. The LBO, as you know, publishes that information, and so the most recent report shows that we're $653 million with 1 month remaining in the fiscal year above the sine die revenue estimate for fiscal year 2023, which ends here at the end of this month.
That's exactly right. So we've been blessed, but I will tell you, we have also been diligent in not spending more money than we have, and not spending money on recurring expenditures.
That's right.
And keeping our saving accounts full, because Gerard, you know it as well as I do or better. The economy is cyclical. It's going to go up and down.
No doubt.
It's going to go up and down. And so we're going to have some money for those rainy days.
All those funds are flush with money. The capital expense fund, the rainy day fund, et cetera. They're all maxed out.
They're all maxed out.
Which is good.
It's
good business.
And look, because of that, the legislature's been able to give back to communities all across the state through members on, and I don't want to call it port projects. These are legitimate projects that the state has, was requested by a member to have some interest in to help back home.
Yeah,
and it's not port, because if you look down through it, it's in regard to infrastructure, as far as transportation infrastructure, personal safety, things like that, things that are the core function of government.
Yeah. Well, let's hope we get some more effort in the legislature to push this tax elimination through. So something that comes up a lot related to that, Scott, is the elimination of the income tax or elimination of the sales tax on groceries. And Representative Becky Curry in the studio here during the session, I asked her the question, if a bill were drafted to eliminate the sales tax on groceries, do you think that would pass? Her response was this afternoon that would pass.
I think so. I think that's a correct assessment. I saw where Alabama passed one.
Sure did.
It's not a full elimination.
Not full. They reduced it,
and it had some triggers in it that if they did not reach certain, I don't know the specifics, but I just saw the triggers in. If it didn't reach, revenue didn't reach a certain level, it would not continue.
Phase it out.
Phase it out. Right. Yeah. I think that's probably the approach we need to take.
Okay.
I do. Full elimination. I'd have to look at the tax category just to see. And I talk about the income tax, and I know that elimination of the grocery tax could probably help our people more than anything.
Yeah.
But we got to be careful, because you don't want to just totally develop your revenue stream.
Yeah, exactly.
you eliminate the income tax, those people are going to take that money and spend it elsewhere.
That's right. Which generates more tax, but it's not a dollar for dollar offset.
It could be, but I think, in answer to your question, I think if we had a grocery tax reduction or elimination plan in front of the legislature, I think it would pass. That's my thoughts.
Okay. Well, it's going to be an interesting session, but it's going to be an interesting Neshoba County Fair. Give us those dates real quick again.
July the 21st through July the 28th.
Look forward to seeing you and everybody else over there.
Thank you for having me here. Thank you, sir.
For coming on. Representative Scott Bounds has been our guest. We're going to see him at the Neshoba County Fair.